Gotcha!
It would have been cool if we ever saw Jinora doing this whole I can see and play with the spirits thing and nobody else can thing any other time. Maybe just in the background or something so it could tie nicely into this, but no, I don't think anything like that is ever present.
Jinora, there you are.
Hold on, did you see the orange one come in? Oh shit, chill man, we're just hanging out. I didn't know you had it like that. Aang, why did you steal the bridge design from Kyoshi Island when you rebuilt this place? This lady has one yellow shoulder and one red shoulder in this shot, and then two yellow shoulders in this one.
Who's ready for an exciting tour of the Eastern Air Temple? Korra?
Korra!
So you're the Eastern Air Temple now, and Korra started her journey off in the Fire Nation, so how long of a trip was that? The old lady said we only had weeks, but Korra must have spent a bunch of that just traveling here.
Just tell us everything.
Everything? Okay.
I opened a spirit portal at the South Pole, but then Unalaq turned out to be a bad guy and wanted to take control of the South, so I sort of started a civil war. But when I went to find some help, I was attacked by my cousins, and then by a giant dark spirit, and then I forgot who I was, and then I met the first Avatar, and then I realized I shouldn't have opened the portal in the first place, and now I need to close it again.
You should have been briefed about this. I knew this would happen.
Okay, that is a really funny joke from Tenzin, and I was gonna do this point where I was like, but the joke setup doesn't really make sense because the setup is that she doesn't have enough time to explain it all, and that she just explains it all really, really well anyway. If the setup contradicts itself, does the joke even really work? And sometimes I just gotta check myself and be like, dude, you're a human being, just enjoy things. Okay, now this one's pretty reasonable. I like this one. I'm no fucking bridge doctor, but shouldn't a bridge operate as a bridge first and a wall second?
I knew Unalaq was hungry for power, but never realized how far he would go to get it.
This is all my fault.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Now we must focus on setting things right before he can do any more damage.
Man, anyone really miss Tenzin for the first 10 episodes of the season? Like, seriously, he was probably my favorite character from book 1, and they really sideline him, basically, so the plot can be put into motion without any interference. So they literally made him go on vacation. It's kind of funny when you think about it like that. I guess this point is twofold. I'm mad they took him out of the show and plot until now, and I'm glad he's back.
You're here to straighten out the mess you caused when you failed to capture the Avatar.
Is it just me, or is Unalaq kinda jacked? These three shots are framed really weirdly. We see them enter the portal, but it seems like that leads them to be at the back of the Tree of Time when they rounded here. But that doesn't make any sense, because the portals aren't placed like that, and then the show even shows that they're not here. So this shot is kinda confusing. I'll give you each one guess what Nuktuk is being held up by here. Could it be two giant ropes, mechanical hands from some horrible machine cinema Unalaq has thought up? Is there finally a butterbender in canon?
He already had all the shipping. All he needed was Future Industries.
Varric helped save Future Industries. He's my business partner now, not an evil mastermind. Mako, you seem stressed.
He probably is stressed. Every time he goes to someone with a concern, whether it be his co-workers or his brother or his boss, they all look at him like he's speaking a different language. Asami was the only one on his side, and now even she's like, no, you're just being stupid. There's no way that I, intelligent Asami, sold my company to a guy that just completely fleeced me out of all of my inventory. But Varric has very organically wriggled his way into the team. He's Bolin's manager and Asami's business partner. So honestly, them not wanting to believe him about Varric might be some of the best writing in the entire season, and makes Varric's plan even more well fleshed out if you think about it from that angle.
You're dating again? What? Dating? No.
That's crazy.
Korra just left a week ago! Guys, listen to me. Varric is up to no good.
Hold on, Mako's being the most likable he's ever been. He just completely bulldozes through Bolin trying to bring up the love triangle, gets reasonably angry after they both try to hit him with a yeah but over and over. Mako's correct for once. Fuck these two. I'm Team Mako.
By this very garden is where my father met Guru Patik.
Come on, Tenzin, I was gonna say that. This kid ain't got no rhythm.
If Milo could ring his bell at the appropriate intervals...
I thought your bell ringing was just fine.
Oh yes, Korra gets to be outwardly and noticeably nice now. We're past the halfway point. Time to start writing her the other way. Good job, guys. Who the hell was this guy? This guy got a whole mountain face on a mountain face dedicated to him. The spirits just being naturally drawn to Korra is a nice touch. I like that.
Come back, Furryfoot!
Hey, Jinora, what are you chasing?
Nothing.
Wait. You're telling me Jinora's had this crazy connection to the spirits and clearly doesn't hide it very well before literally starting right now? And no one's been like, Jinora acts really strangely? Well, maybe she only started seeing them since arriving at the Eastern Air Temple, since, as Tenzin put it,
This temple is the most spiritual of all the air temples. Focus, Korra.
yes, alrighty, let me have this one. This looks like the same room that Aang and Patik used when they were trying to open Aang's sound chakra. Just obviously cleaned up a bunch.
I've never been into the spirit world.
You've never been into the spirit world?
Correct, that is what you just said 5 seconds ago, just before the commercial break. You learned that technique from Sokka?
Welcome to the I Disappoint Dad Club.
That's an interesting line from Boomy. Do you think that's just his internalized guilt from not being born an airbender? Or he and Aang didn't actually see eye to eye on some stuff? The latter would be a lot more interesting, but we'll never learn anything about that, I don't think.
If you've never been to the spirit world, how are you planning to get Korra into it?
I've spent years studying the techniques and theories of ancient spiritual leaders.
It would have been cool if they knew they were going to get a third season during the production of this one, so maybe Tenzin could have name-dropped Guru Lahima here, among some others, so it would tie nicely into Zahir's obsessions with him. But oh well, more fanfiction wishes, that'll never come true.
I knew it. Looks like she does know something about spiritual matters.
I guess she does. I really hope this doesn't turn into maybe one of the most baffling moments in the whole series. I don't mind that Jinora just has a natural aptitude for spiritual stuff. Some people are just good at things. That's not what I'm going to complain about later. Just let me say that now.
How long have you been able to do this?
I don't know. I guess I've always kind of had a connection with spirits.
Fucking never mind. Throw out that reasoning from earlier. No one noticed you acting like a weirdo, playing with and following and speaking to things that weren't there until today. Today twice? And why do these things even hide? They seem pretty affectionate. This one just decides it loves Boomy. Which, you know, loving Boomy? First time for everything. Actually, now that I think about it, you think this shot is supposed to imply that Unalaq took them around the back of the tree so his kids didn't get the chance to see Vaatu and be like, what the hell is even that? Because you definitely think that would be part of this scene if they did see him.
By entering the spirit world through the portal, we bring with us something the spirits never had. Our bending.
I really like this logic. It's completely logical within the rules of the universe and is a pretty cool thought. It's been long set up that being a spirit means that you can't bend because bending is tied to your physical form. But now that there's a way to physically enter the spirit world through the portals, you can bend in the spirit world. Very cool. Very intelligent. 10 out of 10. It is really funny, however, that Unalaq, this spiritual leader that seems to have knowledge that no one else really has, still thinks he can walk into the spirit world and open the portal by just hitting it really, really hard. I don't mean to tell you how to do your job, but why aren't you hitting it with ice? Oh, no, there you go. Never mind.
I hear you've got some ideas. You want to tell me about them?
God, Varric's so close to being so cool. Look at how he dismisses his thugs one at a time with a glance. Man, that's so ice cold. But then after this plot, he's nothing.
And I think you know that I know that you know. You know?
You can feel how intimidating Varric is in this scene, with the music and the lighting. This scene might be the most overlooked scene in the whole show. Varric constantly speaks with double meanings, making it clear what he's saying without admitting to any wrongdoing. Threatening while also being inviting. This scene is awesome for Varric, and honestly, the writing of the show as a whole. It's just a shame they couldn't keep it going. You think Korra had to explain how she got a sky bison from the Fire Nation yet? Because I assume Tenzin would just be like, huh?
When we were at the Southern Air Temple, I was drawn to this old carving. Couldn't figure out what it was until now. It was the first avatar.
How the hell did you not put that together? It was at the start of the spiral, was it not? I thought you were supposed to be pretty bright.
Are you sure these spirits are leading us to the right place?
Yeah. The orange one's actually pretty nasty at flying. They know what's up.
We'll have to perform a spiritual cleansing ceremony.
What are you talking about?
Dad taught it to me.
So I guess Aang would have had to become very studious as he aged, right? He expresses that he knows nothing about the spirit world or spirit anything in the early episodes of Airbender, and he doesn't learn a whole lot about it as the series goes on, and there wouldn't have been anyone around to really teach him. So I guess Aang would have taken it upon himself to become a repository of Airbender knowledge, whatever survived the attacks on the temples. Then he would have tried to teach it all to Tenzin. Makes pretty solid sense to me. I count 255 bats in this shot. Anyone want to call me out on that? I dare you.
Bats! Evil bats!
Not bats! Dark spirits!
They can be both. What the hell? It's the same moment as the Cave of Two Lovers from Airbender.
Giant flying thing with teeth!
No! It's a wolf bat!
Wow, this is a very rare moment where Korra defaults to using water. Most of the time, Korra's immediate thought is to use firebending, even when it doesn't make a ton of sense. But here, she goes with water, even when there's clearly not a lot around. Alright, so Korra can do it. I guess the ocean spirit monster was just too dark or powerful. I assume it would be easier on a bunch of smaller ones, I guess.
Amazing.
Wait, Kaya, you're not up on this? Really? I would have thought if this was something a spiritual waterbender could learn, like, say, the Avatar, Aang would have learned it later in his life. He never thought to teach you about it? Weird. Maybe he was too tunnel vision on Tenzin. Yeah, get out of here, nature and the spirits. I'm confused by this. Isn't nature, the natural world, kind of tied to the spirits? Aren't you trying to re-energize this place, bring it closer to the spirit world? So why would these, that are probably spirit vines, seem to recede? Wouldn't these elements help with the spiritualness?
Your spiritual training has come a long way.
Unalaq may be a horrible person, but his spirit powers are no joke.
Yeah, you could have fooled me. It would have been really cool to see you train with him at all or get any explanation on the golden glowy water.
Everything you've done was meant to help me. I am so sorry for turning my back on you as my mentor.
It is really nice that Korra apologizes to Tenzin and seems to wholeheartedly mean it, but I think this is the first really big instance of Korra's character just kind of leaping places we didn't see her actually grow to, and there's a really egregious one next episode, so I'll save that point for then.
The ancient airbenders must have built this site.
I was thinking the same thing, Tenzin, sharp as a tack.
After all these years, my father's dream for me will finally come true.
And there's a couple times in this episode where Tenzin mentions his role in relationship to his father and Aang's expectations and wants for him, which is excellent to have here because it makes a moment in a later episode hit much harder. That is what competent writing is, and I'm glad we have some of that now rather than our characters just being mean idiots for no reason.
Why don't we go get some dinner?
No thanks. I'm a little busy.
I was just looking into ordering a second tank top.
Too busy for Kwang's cuisine? Remember? We had our first date there.
I do remember. In fact, I remember that this super hot chick hit me with her moped, and then she asked me out to dinner at this super expensive place. And then when I said I didn't have nice enough clothes, she said she would just buy the clothes. And then it turns out she's like a huge fan of me and my sports team. And then it turns out she's super rich because her dad is like this billionaire industrialist / inventor. Yeah, and then he gave us 30,000 yuans to cover our tournament entry just because, basically. And then a whole bunch of shit went down, and I decided I didn't even like her. I like this other girl more, who just so happens to be a Jesus allegory that can use 4 different kinds of magic. But then I got tired of her being all mad at me all the time, so then I went back to the supermodel chick, right? And after trying to be a super detective and figure out this whole crazy plot, I got all of her inventory stolen, but it turns out she's still way into me even though I fucked up so hard, and it only negatively impacted her. And then she asked me out to dinner at this super expensive place. Why don't you believe me?
What's going on?
We busted some triple threats who said you hired them for a job.
According to the triple threats, you did more than that. They said you helped them steal a warehouse full of Future Industries property.
You're gonna believe a bunch of criminals?
I have to follow up on the lead.
It also kind of bothers me that incompetency and the lack of communication still seems to be the main thing that drives this plot forward. Like these two, at this point, are either 1, complete hacks who suck at their job, or are 2, being bought out by Varric. And that's fine, but Lin still falls into this writing trap of having to be brain dead and completely oppose anything Mako says to make the story go in the direction it wants to go. Like, Lin was a detective, a woman of action, someone who was willing to put her job to the side to make sure what was right ended up getting done. But now, she's the opposite. She seems to take everything given to her except what Mako says at face value. She hasn't done anything but yell at people and seems to not to want to step on Raiko's toes. And that really sucks because Lin was one of the surprise standout hits from season 1. But now, a lot like Tenzin, she's been sidelined. Unfortunately, her character has taken a hit too.
Looky what I found. Cash. And these.
Don't disgrace Mako's gym bag like that. In the long and historied line of bags in Avatar, that is definitely one of them. Korra's reaction to Iki telling Asami Korra likes Mako. Mako's reaction to having illegal weapons planted in his apartment, being implicated in organized crime, and probably the biggest industrial heist in history.
I don't know where those came from.
This has to be a mistake.
Sorry to break the news to you, sweetie, but your boyfriend's just a crooked cop.
We had to shrink his apartment behind us just as a show of force. Hey Tenzin, there's a prickle snake in your sleeping bag? Yeah, it doesn't really work.
I think Jinora was meant to guide the Avatar.
I know they're trying to give Jinora a bigger role, and I know they're trying to do some pretty crazy shit with her later on, but I get this feeling at this point, I don't really care about Jinora. I don't know her, I know she's the smart one, basically, and that's it. And I get that they're using this to introduce Jinora to you more, but I just can't help but wish that it was Tenzin that helped Korra into the spirit world. Tenzin is just a bigger and more fleshed out character, and this could have had a really cool parallel to my favorite episode of Airbender, the Firebending Masters, where Zuko loses his fire and he and Aang have to learn together. That could have been Korra and Tenzin. In learning you will teach, and in teaching you will learn. I think that would have been a lovely angle to take for Tenzin, who has been really sidelined this entire season. Would anyone else at this point thought that maybe I have to go down into the bat hole, or is that just me? We enter the spirit world as spirits, you'd kind of be surprised at this point, for the second time ever. Feels like it's happened more than that, right? Once again, there's those times that Aang met up with Roku and went back in time with him, but I'm not sure if those are the same thing. Hey, Vaatu, just wondering, on their way out, did my kids go around the backside of the tree again, or did they happen to see you ominously floating in there? Got it. No, you're right. It doesn't matter. You got a bus. Alright, the guide. We're finally back with the main crew, and man, it's kind of a weird episode. It's a setup episode. We're trying to set the next bunch of things into motion, and I usually give those kind of episodes a little more leeway to be less interesting, but there really isn't a whole lot that happens in this one, even on that level. Mako basically retreads all of the things we learned before the beginnings episodes in his investigation, and we get all the same reactions to it. It's weird. His side of the episode almost feels like a recap, before we finally get around to him being falsely arrested in the end. Like, hey, remember Bolin's a movie star now? Remember that Varric totally knows that you know? Remember that Mako and Asami are back together now? Remember that Lin is being an asshole and won't listen? Nothing at all new was explored here. And then there's the other half of the episode with Korra and Tenzin, which is mostly just Tenzin being frustrated the entire time about the same thing over and over. And while I do think that those frustrations and his expectations for himself are an interesting beat for him when we've only seen him as this wise master, I don't think they're interesting enough to be basically the only beat in his side of the story. I'm glad it's there for setup for later, but there needs to be other stuff going on too. So this one, really slow, kind of a chore to get through if you ask me. Not a very good episode of Korra. Patreon shoutouts, if you want to see the next 2 episodes of Overanalyzing Korra ahead of the YouTube releases, you can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link, as always, is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons. A Stack of Pancakes, who was buried alive, but then they realized they left the oven on at home, so that didn't last long. Aurora, who plucked all of a cassowary's feathers while it was alive and trying to kill them, and I wouldn't even get close to one of those things if it was dead. Balmir Candle, who got told as a kid to grow eyes in the back of their head, so they did. Ben Mizro, who uses nunchucks for his ping pong paddle, and he could have went to the Olympics if they weren't so hard to get over an international border. Donut, who went on house flippers and didn't realize the competition wasn't to literally flip the house over top of itself with their insane strength, so they ended up losing. Gene Cree, who got a house to stop being haunted by watching nothing but Cake Boss for a month straight. Kevin Bartlin, who stepped on an anti-tank mine, but no one's been able to make an anti-Kevin mine yet, so they're fine. Liquor Cause I Know Her, who has the bite force of an alligator. You ever see a person do the death roll? Omega Fighter, who found and befriended the legendary winged bull known as the Buffalo Chicken. Tater of Tots, who saw a baby accidentally drop a mirror once, so they kicked the mirror in midair, shattering it, and tanked the 7 years of bad luck for the kid. And that one Turian who found an injured queen bee and nursed it back to health, and well, long story short, they control 40% of the bees in North America. And of course, my other fuck you money patrons, they're 50 Kobold, Laferg 13, Luna Invicta, Lurfax 1, Matthew Lang, One Leg Wonder, Potato Scream, The Former Meaning of Life, The 1am Party, and Whitrow. And my god overanalyzers, 2 Boots Are Beat, Aang, Alan Garvin, Andrew Jacobson, Andrew Watchert, Aropataro, Billowing Mustache, Bob Death, Chandler Crump, Charles the Fartbender, Kobe Smith, Deathly Healer, Dr. Xerox, Dominic Saint, Dricker, Emma Not Emma, Aaron Grace, Fire Lizard 44, I'm a Match, Jackson, Jeremy Rubenstein, John Ajaka, Justin Scott, Mac, Mackie Eligio, Medium D Speaks, Michael Fellin, Mitchell Gobrecht, Nick, Nicholas Abbott, Peter Bayron, Pogger White, Red Pyrobite, Reese, Rocket Miss, Ryan Gregorikos, Ryan Maxwell, Sandy Stormborn, Shane Antonacci, Silk Toast, Smarty Marty, Spicy Ketchup, Super Snipper, Thomas Barrett, Victoria the Queen, Von Can't Spell, YouTube copyright sucks, Take My Money, and some sort of bear face. Next up, oh boy, I sure hope the spirit world isn't like hugely whack or nothing.